guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Benedict, and for today's video I wanted to talk about Black Girl Sunscreen. So I did a review on the original sunscreen, this one, which is the Black Girl Sunscreen Moisturizing Sunscreen Lotion for Face and Body SPF 30. This was their ultra sheer no white residue fragrance free formula. It was on my original sunscreen video where I tested out a bunch of different sunscreens that you guys recommended, and I actually did enjoy this one. It was kind of like heavy though for my face, so I've been using it mostly on my body. But after reviewing it in that video, I got a lot of requests from you guys to test out their kids version and their new matte formula. So before we get started, as always, I want to talk about my skin type. I have oily, acne prone, very sensitive skin. Currently I am using a acne medication that is leaving me a little bit more dry around this area, but the rest of my face is still like semi oily. So the sunscreen is really the only thing that I'm changing in my routine right now. I've been using my acne routine for about a month, so that's like pretty steady. So the only difference that I'll be seeing as far as my skin and if I'm breaking out is from the sunscreen. For today's video, we're gonna start out with the Black Girl Sunscreen Kits, and this is a moisturizing sunscreen lotion for your face and body. It says that it's SPF 50, water resistant for 80 minutes, and there are no parabens, fragrance, oxybenzone, or oxynoxate. So the active ingredients in here is 3% avobenzone, 15% homosalate, and 5% octisalate. The directions say to apply liberally for 15 minutes before sun exposure, which is pretty common with a chemical sunscreen, which is what this one is. And it says to reapply every 2 hours. Yeah, it says that it's fragrance free. It basically smells like the original Black Girl sunscreen. So it kind of has like that very light sunscreen smell with no like added fragrance to it. So to apply this one, I follow the 2-finger method. So basically I coat these 2 fingers with sunscreen, and that will cover my face, neck, and chest. And right off the bat, I put it on with 1 layer of sunscreen with like my regular amount of moisturizer underneath, just to see how it would sit. And I personally thought it felt kind of heavy. I suppose the original Black Girl sunscreen is pretty heavy too, so I would say this is like very similar to that. It's a little bit less greasy, but it still felt a little heavy for me. Even after waiting the 15 minutes, it still felt like almost tacky on the skin, which I, as a person with oily skin, do not like at all. I want things to either feel matte or to feel just like normal. I don't mind the hydration, but it's like it was a little much for me. So as you can see, it did go down very clear. There is no white residue, there's no white cast, but I really wasn't expecting that from a chemical sunscreen anyways. But this is what it looked like after 2 hours, and then I reapplied it. It reapplied pretty well. It didn't leave any of like that pilly feel that you sometimes get when you reapply sunscreen. It went on pretty much like the way that it felt the first time I put it on. It didn't feel like extra cakey with the second layer, but it still had that greasy feel to it. And then I came back again 2 hours later and reapplied again, and this is what it looked like. So this was day 1 when I tried it with my regular moisturizer underneath. So this is after the reapplication. I just feel so greasy. So day 2, when I wore this sunscreen, I actually went ahead and skipped my moisturizer. So normally I would moisturize and then I'd come back and put my sunscreen over it. But since I felt like this was a little heavier, day 2, I skipped the moisturizer altogether. I just went straight from my acne treatment, and then I put on the sunscreen right after, and kind of used it as its own moisturizer. And I felt like after the first application, second application, third application, it felt way better than it did day 1. It was a lot less heavy, a lot less oily. So I think if you were to use this sunscreen and you have oily skin, I would just skip the moisturizer altogether and just go straight for the sunscreen. But even with doing that, I still felt like it was still slightly like oily and greasy, and I didn't really like enjoy it that much. I think this would work better for someone who has normal to dry skin, because around my mouth area it sat pretty fine, and that's where I'm dry, but everywhere else it was like a total grease bomb. So I wore this for a couple days to really get a feel of how my skin would react to it, because as I said, I have really acne prone sensitive skin, and I think after like day 2 I started breaking out. I did have a few, well, not even a few, I had a lot of breakouts on like this side of my face. And I just think it's a little too heavy and a little too like pore clogging for my liking. So sadly, I did not enjoy this Black Girl Sunscreen, kids, and I probably wouldn't recommend it to someone who has oily skin, but if you lean more towards the drier or normal side, sure, give it a try. The next week, I tried out this Black Girl Sunscreen Make It Matte formula. This is their newest formula. It's broad spectrum SPF 45, and it says that it goes on sheer and it's fragrance free, water resistant up to 80 minutes. This is a chemical formula. The active ingredients is 3% avobenzone, 10% homosalate, 5% octisalate, and 5% octocrylene. Again, with this one, it says to apply liberally 15 minutes before sun exposure and then reapply every 2 hours. Again, I did the 2-finger method with this one. This one is also fragrance free, so it doesn't have any like harsh sunscreen or like coconutty smell or anything like that. The formula is supposed to be matte. So right off the bat, the feel of this one is kind of like the Supergoop matte velvet sunscreen. It has that very silky, velvety, almost like face primer feel to it, which I really like in a sunscreen because that means that it's gonna sit super well underneath makeup. So on day one, I wore my regular moisturizer underneath, and then I applied this and I reapplied every 2 hours. And with this one, it had no white cast. It felt like really good on. I just really like anything that's like a velvety feel to it. It felt really good on. I felt like it blended out really easily without having to like rub excessively like with some sunscreens. And the matte formula, it's not like super matte, it's like a natural matte, if that makes sense. Like it didn't feel dry underneath, which is what I sometimes get with some matte formulas, but it just felt like normal, you know. It wasn't like too dry, it wasn't like oily, it was kind of like in between, and it did give me like an overall matte finish to it. After wearing it for about a week, I actually didn't experience any breakouts with this one, or I should say any new breakouts, because as you can see, I'm still dealing with this one and this one that I got from the kids version of the sunscreen, but I didn't get any new breakouts from using this matte formula, which is really great. My only con with this sunscreen though is the bottle is just, I don't know who created this. I used it for like a day and the top broke, and then now it's like, I don't know if you guys can see that, but the top of it is like separating and kind of like spilling out a little. I don't think that's from me. I think that's just from the way the bottle is designed, but that's very minor. Like I do like that it's a pump, but if you're gonna make it a pump, like girl, you gotta make sure it's not gonna explode in my purse, which it did, and it's spilled everywhere. So that's kind of annoying. I'm wearing this one with makeup. The kids one, I didn't even want to try with makeup because it already felt really heavy, and I thought that adding makeup on it would just make it even worse. So for this video, I didn't even try that one with makeup, and I feel like it would not have looked right with makeup. But I am currently wearing the matte formula, and I'm wearing a bit of makeup, nothing too heavy. Like my normal makeup routine is nothing crazy. Like I don't even wear foundation on a regular basis. I just, you know, some concealer, some blush, some powder. So I'm wearing makeup over this matte formula, and as you can see, it kind of gives me like a matte but like still glowy. I've been wearing this makeup for 3 hours, 4 hours now, and I look a bit shiny, but it's like nothing extreme. So I do think the matte is working and helping with that. And like I said, the fact that the feel of it is like a primer feel, I just feel like the makeup just sits so beautifully on top of the sunscreen. So if you're looking for a chemical sunscreen with a matte finish, I would definitely go give this a try, especially if you liked the Supergoop Matte Velvet. I think you would really enjoy this one. I think it's a little less mattifying than that one, but it still gets the job done. So I just want to leave you guys with a little bit of my 2 cents. I feel like everybody's skin type is a little different, even if we all fall in the oily category or if we all fall in the sensitive category. Some things that someone recommends may not work for you, even though you are in that same category. So just keep that in mind, and I would still encourage you to keep searching for a sunscreen that you really enjoy, that works for you, that works for your lifestyle, that works for your skin type, that works for your budget. And I think people tend to wear some sunscreens more when they find things that they actually love. So that's really the whole purpose of me making all of these sunscreen reviews for you, is for you to find something that you really like putting on so that you remember to wear it every single day to protect your skin. So that is it for today's video. If you like it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye!